What's up, everyone? So what you're watching is a deload pull session that I did last week from the date that I recorded this. I would have done this last Friday. This is, as I mentioned, a deload session, so you're going to see everything that I do over the course of a deload session. So speaking of deloads, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about with this video today, is the importance of deloads and how I personally go about doing them for hypertrophy and bodybuilding specifically. So why do we need to take a deload? As we go over the course of a training block, as we go session after session, week after week of making progress and getting stronger and progressing our lifts, there's going to come a point where the fatigue that we accumulate from doing that is going to catch up with us. And we're going to get to a point where our body is really fatigued, and that can start to show its way in a couple different methods. For me personally, I notice that my digestion will get bad and I'll start having loose stools like out of nowhere. I'll notice that it takes a while for me to fall asleep. And when I do finally fall asleep, the quality of that sleep I can feel when I wake up in the morning is nowhere near where it needs to be. So overall sleep quality and quantity goes down. And then the basic kind of aches and pains, I start to get some injuries, some tendinitises, and all those other things. So there are a lot of ways that our body will tell us that we need to stop and take off some fatigue. Now, how do we go about doing that? I think it's important for me to mention that for bodybuilding purposes, the phrase deload is actually kind of a misinterpreted term for how to explain this particular phase of training. What I think it really should be called is a devolume. And if you're a fan of Jordan Peters and kind of the UK bodybuilding scene, are kind of like the people who are predominantly utilizing the style of training that I like to use, you'll know that they reference a deload phase as a devolume. So the literature on fatigue and overcoming fatigue is pretty clear when it states that it isn't necessarily the intensity of the exercise that causes the fatigue, but it's more so the volume of the exercise. So I don't actually like to change the weights that I use at all when I deload. I still keep my weights following the logbook, and I'm still trying to set PRs with weights, but I'm just doing less of those over the course of a session. So how does that look like for this particular session? I'll throw up a picture right now, kind of like an overlay of what the typical training programming looks for this particular pull session. So you'll see that I'm doing 4 sets of lat work across 2 exercises. I'm doing 3 sets of upper back work across 2 exercises. Then I'm doing two sets of shrugs, 3 sets of biceps, and then some tricep work, and then some abs. So what you're going to see from this particular session is I'm only doing 2 sets of lat work, so just 1 set of each exercise. I'm only doing 2 sets of upper back work instead of 3, so 1 from each exercise. 1 set of shrugs. I drop my bicep volume from 3 sets all the way down to 1, and then I completely remove the tricep work, and then I drop my ab work down from 2 sets to 1. So I'm just making a significant decrease in the total amount of volume that I'm doing. But as you'll see from these clips, I'm still keeping my intensity extremely high. I'm still training at 0 RIR. I'm still trying to set PRs. So nothing changes on that front. The only thing that changes is that, as I keep mentioning, is that I decrease the volume significantly. And I noticed that if I kind of take a week where I only train, say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then take a double rest over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, so I only train maybe 3 days over a 7-day period. If I do that, and then those 3 sessions, I train at this deload volume, this deload level of volume, significantly reduced level of volume, that by the time a week goes by, I feel pretty damn good and I'm ready to get back in the gym and pick up back at full volume. How long can I do this and train at full volume before I need to deload again? What I've kind of noticed for myself over the past 1.5 years or so of data is that on average, I'm deloading about every 6 weeks. So I'll usually run 6 weeks at full volume. and then I'll end up taking a full week of deload volume and deload training frequency, and then I can usually get another 6 weeks of really productive progressive training after that. As I get leaner and leaner, and am eating less food and doing more steps, that kind of drops back to like every 5 to 4 weeks. So it's something that I do more frequently as I diet and as my body weight decreases, and I still have to do it somewhat frequently, even when I'm heavy and recovery capability is pretty high. So it's not something that you can necessarily skip, but I do think it is something that is important to take more of as you get closer to the end of a dieting phase, just simply because the more frequently you deload, you're going to have a better opportunity to kind of save your training performance and keep your strength high. And that really is going to be the main contributing factor to keeping your muscle mass while you're dieting, is keeping your training performance. So what a lot of people who may be watching this will notice is as they're getting leaner and leaner, their strength keeps falling off more and more and more. For those people, I would recommend to throw these deload phases in more frequently than what they're currently doing, and that'll help mitigate some of that fatigue and help keep you feeling fresh as you're pushing through a training block in a deload phase. So as always, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, take care of yourself.
Watching